What is up, my friends? So, let's talk about Servant's latest episode, Espresso. Before we talk about it, anybody else watching WandaVision? If you are, I've made a couple of videos on it. Go check them out on my channel. Make sure you're subscribed. But these are the two shows I'm mainly covering right now. So, if you're into that other show, WandaVision, you should definitely check out my videos as well. So, Servant. I've been loving Servant this season so far. I really do think it's been very good, and I'm excited for what comes next. As you know, this is a 5-season show. M. Night Shyamalan has already said that, so I'm always expecting not to get really much answers as to where we're headed to, what direction, what's going to happen next. So, with that being said, this latest episode just made me ask a ton more questions. So, our previous episode left us with Dorothy and Sean going to the mall with the ransom money to sort of get baby Jericho back, they thought. It turns out that Leanne might have been the one that did this, and she was actually in Sean's laptop and was able to sort of make a fake out of sorts. What ends up happening, however, is Uncle George is at this mall, and he actually is there like with Dorothy and Sean and comes back home with them, and he is after Leanne, he says. Julian tries to stop and everything, but they're just like, we have to find where Jericho is. We see Uncle George go crazy in the house trying to find Leanne. Ultimately, he doesn't, and they're trying to talk to him, but he's just like that they've already been ruined, that there's no turning back from what they've done, and it's all chaos right now. None of us know what the hell this means, and the Turners are just as confused. They ultimately decide that Sean should talk to him since he will try to reason with him a little better than Dorothy or Julian could. And so Sean tries to talk to Uncle George, and Uncle George just basically implies, in my honest opinion, I think what he is implying is that him, Leanne, and maybe the rest of the other people that we see as the cult could actually be angels of some sort, as he says that they are ones that have been given a second chance and are here by God. So I think, in my honest opinion, that's what he's kind of referring to themselves as being sort of angels or miracle workers, if you will. And so I think Leanne might just be the strongest of them all. I think that's the reason he's so intent on finding her, and sort of implies that if she isn't around, then she basically lays like a curse or all of that on people. And that's why he wants her to be back in the home she was in. He says that this is the cause of that ground break that happened in the cellar basement. I don't know. Sorry. I'm kind of, it's been a long week. I've updated on my WandaVision video that I actually was in Texas during this winter storm, went 60 hours without power. So trying to get back into the groove of things, a little bit hard, but we're here for it. Anyways, enough about that. So basically, we see that Leanne tells Sean, no, I don't want to go back with him, and don't listen to anything he says. He's not bringing Jericho back. You have to take me somewhere far away, and that's the only way like you could ever see Jericho back is you get me away from him. While this is happening, Dorothy is in the basement with him, and they're sort of like trying to pray, and he sees that Leanne's hair is in that hole that Dorothy dug up. Julian's down there as well, and he said, it's pretty much over. You just messed everything up even more. While all of this is happening upstairs, Sean and Leanne see in the news video coming up on the TV that there was a shooting and there are many dead at the house that Leanne was working at with the lady. And now it's like, what the hell's happening here? Dorothy, Uncle George, and Julian show up and watch this. Uncle George is like, it's too late. I told you this was going to happen. And that's pretty much where our episode ends. So we don't really see much else in this episode besides a few flashbacks to when Sean gets that espresso machine that he was so sad about letting go in the previous episode. And pretty much it's implied throughout those flashbacks as well that Sean knew he shouldn't have gone on that Los Angeles trip for that show because Dorothy was sort of like under stress like immensely from the baby, and he shouldn't have really left her alone, and maybe he feels some sort of guilt for that happening, what happened with baby Jericho, because he indeed was the one that left. And so I think that this is something that Uncle George talked to him as well, is he has these sort of feelings as well of guilt, and Leanne kind of implies it at the end as well. And so I thought that that was a very interesting thing. And I think we still haven't gotten a full scope of what happened that day to baby Jericho. And I think we'll definitely see that pretty soon as well. So this episode leaves more questions on the table than any answers at all, because there are no answers in this episode. And I think we only have two more episodes left, or three, before the finale of the season. And I still believe that there hasn't been anything answered at all. So like I said, I think that Uncle George showing up here is going to imply that more people from the cult are going to show up. And now I think that the Turners are going to be a little bit more like, okay, what the hell's going on, after seeing what happened at that home. It seems that Sean is more inclined to believe Uncle George and Leanne, more of a supernatural element of things going on here than Julian and Dorothy are. So I wonder how that's going to fare out between the three of them, as Sean, I think, is more inclined to believe that there is something more divine going on here than any of them can comprehend. I believe that Leanne is some sort of miracle worker and maybe an angel of sorts. Maybe Uncle George is sort of a worshiper, but not really like having that ability to bring life or anything like that, because he does say that Leanne knew that she could do this with bringing the baby back and helping the Turners and all of that, and that they advised her not to do this. So I think that she does have these powers, and these people sort of know she has these powers and kind of worship her in a way, not really, but still try to protect her from the outside earth, outside people, and I think that that's exactly what's going on here. So I think that he is trying to get her back with them, but also trying to remedy everything she's done, because now the Turners here know about her, and I think he feels that's sort of a dangerous situation for Leanne to be in, and for the rest of the cult. So next episode should be interesting what happens with that, because at this point Leanne doesn't want to go with Uncle George, and now they're all in the same room right now. So I'm just wondering how Sean is going to take all of this, and Dorothy as well, as she said that Leanne isn't leaving or Uncle George until Jericho's back. So is she really going to have two prisoners now, or what is going to happen here? I think at this point Julian does have to sort of step in and take Sean's side, because I don't think Dorothy's going to stop at any point right now. So very good episode right here that just leaves us with more questions, but that's my theory right there. Is I think that Uncle George and the rest of the cult are worshippers and sort of trying to achieve some sort of level as to where Leanne is, where I think she is more on a higher level and sort of a miracle angel worker of sorts. And that's the way that she was able to bring the baby back. And we're going to see what happens next. She does say that baby Jericho isn't coming back, and there is nothing that they can do about that. And I think that she was just there trying to help Dorothy, but once she learned about the truth of what happened, I think she regretted ever helping them and just wanted to leave. So I don't think that we will be seeing baby Jericho come back in any shape, way, or form, unless that Leanne can be convinced otherwise that Dorothy is a changed person. But at this point, Dorothy buried her alive, so I don't see that happening anytime soon. Let me know your thoughts below on the episode. What do you think is going to happen next? Are you loving the season, or did you enjoy the previous one more? The aesthetic is always pleasing, I think, with this show, and I think the second season is just a great extension of the first. Can't wait to see where this one ends and the cliffhangers we have. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. As always, stay safe, stay positive.